Ever heard of a war fought not just with cannons and rifles, but with wires and signals? Today, we're diving into a lesser-known chapter of the American Civil War, a story about the fragile lifeline that connected a nation, the Overland Telegraph. And at the heart of this story is one determined officer, Captain William A. Wonder. Imagine this, it's the early 1860s. The Civil War is raging. The Union needs to stay connected with its western territories, especially California with its gold and resources. The problem? Thousands of miles of open, often hostile territory lay in between. The solution was a technological marvel for its time, the Pacific Telegraph line stretching from Nebraska to California. This single, vulnerable wire was the internet of its day, transmitting critical information in minutes instead of weeks. But this vital artery was constantly under threat. Native American tribes, pushed from their lands and understandably wary of the talking wire, saw it as a symbol of encroachment. They frequently cut the line, tore down poles, and used the wire for their own purposes. For the Union, every minute the line was down meant a dangerous information blackout. Enter Captain William A. Winder. He wasn't a famous general leading massive armies, but his job was just as crucial. Stationed in the vast, desolate Utah Territory, Winder was tasked with protecting this critical piece of infrastructure. His command wasn't large, just a company of California volunteers, but their mission was immense. Think about the sheer scale of their challenge. They had to patrol hundreds of miles of rugged terrain, from scorching deserts to freezing mountain passes. They were constantly on the move, chasing down reports of downed lines, often riding for days on end. It wasn't glorious combat. It was a grueling, relentless war of attrition against distance, weather, and determined resistance. Winder's reports paint a vivid picture of this struggle. He wrote about his men being spread thin, guarding isolated repeater stations that were little more than wooden shacks in the middle of nowhere. These stations were essential for boosting the telegraph signal, but they were also prime targets. Station keepers lived in constant fear, isolated and exposed. One of the biggest challenges Winder faced was the Goshute War. The Goshute people, facing starvation and the disruption of their traditional way of life, launched a series of raids against stagecoach stations and the telegraph line. Winder and his men were thrust into a difficult conflict, trying to protect the line while navigating a complex and tragic situation. They engaged in skirmishes, pursued raiding parties, and tried to secure peace treaties, often with mixed results. It was a constant cat-and-mouse game. A section of wire would be cut, and a repair crew, escorted by Winder's soldiers, would race out to fix it, knowing they could be ambushed at any moment. They had to be electricians, soldiers, and diplomats all at once. They'd splice wires under the blazing sun, stand guard through freezing nights, and negotiate for safe passage. Winder's leadership was key. He had to keep his men motivated despite the harsh conditions and the seemingly endless task. His persistence ensured that more often than not, messages got through. Orders from Washington, intelligence on Confederate movements, and vital communications with California all depended on the line that he and his men kept alive. So while the grand battles of Gettysburg and Antietam defined the war in the East, the silent, dogged fight for the telegraph line out west was its own kind of victory. It was a technological and logistical triumph that kept a continent connected during its most divided hour. Captain Winder and his soldiers may not have statues in their honor, but their work was absolutely essential to the Union's success. They were the guardians of the wire, the unsung heroes who ensured the nation's nervous system never went completely dark. Thanks for joining me on this journey into a hidden corner of history. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you next time.